Well, the Buffalo Bills have proven that they indeed can win a close game.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your hosts, Andrew Chang and Justin Godwin.
Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show here on the Buffalo Fan Base Network. Before we get started, I do want to let you know that today's episode is presented to you by 26 Shirts. It is a company out of Buffalo, New York. You might have seen them, but it's got amazing apparel. And what's awesome about it is that your money is going to good charitable causes. So if you're not sure what 26 Shirts is, I'd really urge you to go check out their website. It's started up by Bills Mafia's own Del Reed. So check them out. A lot of great apparel there. And like I said, it helps out the greater good. Okay. So let's get into today's episode, and it's just going to be me today. Justin is dealing with his own scheduling stuff, so we couldn't really see eye to eye for today's episode, but it's okay. He's been covering my back for a while over the summer, so we'll give him the night off. Okay. All right. This game is the story of two halves, pretty much. At least that's how I'm looking at it. And, not too many things in life can make me go experience the high level of emotions and the low level of emotions that this game has put me through, okay? And in general, the Bills really do a good job of that. I love it. I really do love this team, and it feels really good to be on the winning side of a close one. And as we all know, the narrative going into this game was, the Buffalo Bills can't win close games. They're like 0-7 in their last games. And it started to be a little bit of a concern, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure Sean McDermott and all of them were hearing that stuff, and then they came out of that Miami game pissed. And then they heard this. They were probably even more pissed. They wanted to prove themselves. And what did they go and do? They let the Baltimore Ravens hang 14 on them in the first quarter. And pretty much all the way up into the half, what was it? It was 20-3 until the very last touchdown by Josh Allen going into the half. But then we already know what happens. They respond tremendously and eventually snag away a win. But let's talk about this first half, because that's where a lot of negative things happened. And it starts off very quick, right? 3 plays in, a total net of 1 yard because Josh Allen gets a ball deflected at the line, and it looks so minuscule, but just enough so Marlon Humphrey could just basically get an easy INT. Like, the ball just got deflected maybe 6 inches to the left, but I remember watching that and thinking to myself, like, come on, Knox, you got to do something a little bit to help out your guy here. But easy return for him, and then there was that face mask on top of it, and it was just the easiest score. 2 plays for the Ravens to get a touchdown on a little shovel pass by Lamar Jackson to J.K. Dobbins, and I'm pretty sure J.K. Dobbins had like 2 touchdowns today, so pretty impressive for him, especially dealing with the injuries. And speaking of injuries, we'll get into that a little later, but some concern, nothing new here for the Buffalo Bills to deal with in terms of injuries. But after that, the Bills kind of storm back, I guess you could say storm back, 8 plays, 37 yards, get a field goal. You're thinking to yourself, okay, it's only 7-3. We got this. And then this is what blew my mind away. The Ravens get the ball back, 15 plays, 81 yards, takes 9 minutes off the clock. And I remember just thinking to myself, 9 minutes, damn. And I thought to myself, like, is this what the Bills were trying to do against the Dolphins, except, the Ravens were actually scoring a touchdown on them? And I wanted so much from this game. I wanted the Bills to come out and just punch people in the face, punch the Ravens in the face, but we got punched in the face because then the next drive after that, Devin Singletary puts the ball on the ground, and oh my God, I gotta tell you, after that, like, I'm with all my friends. The level of emotion in this game right now is at an all-time low. The Ravens get the ball back. They get a field goal. And then the next Bills series, we see Zach Moss come out there, and he runs for like 2 yards or something like that. I think he had like 3 carries for 6 yards. And I'm so sorry. I love the Buffalo Bills and all this stuff, but I think Zach Moss, he needs some time. I need some more snaps given to other options, or maybe we put him in a better position to succeed, because him taking handoffs right now and out of the backfield just isn't necessarily working. And Cook, I don't even know what's going on with him. They barely went to him in the running game. In fact, I'm pretty sure he didn't take a handoff, if I'm not mistaken. They tried giving him the ball one time. He drops the pass. That's the last time you saw of Cook. You saw, I think in total between both of those guys, you saw them maybe 6 times at best. You could just tell after a little bit, the Bills were just like, we want to keep Singletary on the side because, he put the ball on the ground. And McDermott always puts people who put the ball on the ground on the sideline for a while. He's a big advocate for ball security. So when a player does do that, most recently, in my memory, Zach Moss on that primetime game against the 49ers fumbles the ball at the 1-yard line. Didn't see him for the rest of the game. I thought Singletary was going to be sat much longer than he really was. But I don't think the Bills really had a choice, because they just were like, all right, we need something out of the backfield, and it's not Moss or Cook for that matter. Anyways, that resulted in a punt. Ravens get a field goal. Then it's punt. Then Josh Allen goes ham. 11 plays, 76 yards. Took a minute and 38 seconds off the clock. We get a touchdown. End of half. Okay. So, at this point, it is 20-10. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, this is not the ideal way to start a football game. But I know what this team is. I know that they have the explosive ability to really just take over a football game. But this year, we haven't seen them make a comeback. Could this team potentially make a comeback? I don't know. Well, we do know what happens because they ended up winning the game. But at the time, I was like, I really can't tell if this team is going to be able to hit that reset button, make the halftime adjustments, and go out there and steal a W. But they did. So that pretty much wraps up the first half. We're going to take a quick break. Stick around. I'll come back for the second half.
Hey, this is Brother Bill. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going to wrap up today's episode, which I know it's going to be a short one, but hey, this episode is just, it's not following our normal format of how we like to break down the offense, the defense, and all that other stuff, because there is a bigger narrative to this story. And again, I already talked about the first half in the first portion of this podcast, and it was a lot of lows. And, I didn't even get to the penalties. Oh my God, how could I forget? That holding penalty on DeMar that was a no call blew my mind. Oh my God. And we'll get to all that stuff at the end. Let's talk about the second half of this football game, and it starts off with the Ravens getting the ball. You're thinking to yourself, if you're a Bills fan, or at least me, the Bills need to make a stop here. We need some momentum. We have to do something here in order to get the ball back as quick as possible, because the Ravens are taking a lot of time off the clock. And I bet you didn't know this, but The Ravens had about 38 minutes with the football. Sound familiar? The Buffalo Bills had 39 or 40 minutes of the football against the Dolphins. Isn't that crazy? The Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills basically, respectively, when I'm talking about the Miami and Buffalo game versus the Ravens and the Bills game, this most recent one, the team with the most time of possession, and in this case, 2/3 of the game, lost. It just doesn't sound like that would be the case, but it was. They had so much time with the ball, but they lost. The Bills had it for like 22 minutes or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And it starts off with this. The Bills force a 3-and-out. 10 plays later, after they force the 3-and-out, the Bills get a field goal. The Bills force the Ravens to punt on their next series. 5 plays, 18 yards, punt. Bills go 9 plays, 80 yards for a touchdown. Josh Allen runs that boy in, and I gotta tell you, that was a very impressive drive. The Bills basically had to look to their best player because what's his name, McKenzie, he took a shot, concussed, but I hope that he's okay. And I feel like he's okay because he got off the field, jogged into the locker room, got evaluated, and it was pretty quick. Like, hey, he's not coming back. He's hurt. And then after that, Jamison Crowder gets I think on the last punt that the Ravens did on their second possession. I don't know what happened to him, and I'm recording this on Sunday at 5:33. If I had to guess, they put an air cast on him, carted him off, and he was spotted leaving the locker room with crutches and a boot. I think he might have broke his ankle. That's sad, which means that the Bills are super thin at wide receiver at this point. And it's almost like we might need someone named Odell Beckham Jr. to come in, and I would not hate that at this point. Well, that's a whole nother pod, and we just got to finish the second half because after that touchdown, the Bills get an interception. Jordan Poyer, one of his 2 interceptions, comes off a deflected pass off the line, and I swear that ball just hung up there forever. And I'm just thinking, like, when's it going to come down? When's it going to come down? And I see Jordan Poyer jump. I see Lamar Jackson try to, like, basically rip him down. I was like, oh, come on, Poyer, get it. He secures it, gets the ball, and unfortunately, we couldn't capitalize on it, and we had to punt the ball away. But that just showed you, at least to me, like, hey, this team, the tides are turning. The tables are turning. I think that this team can do what it takes to win. How do they follow that up? The Ravens go 14 plays. At this time, 13 plays, about 80, 90-something yards. They're bleeding a lot of clock. 9 minutes off the clock. All the way down from the 4-yard line to, like, the Bills, like, 3 or something. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh, my God, they're going to give up a touchdown. And at this point, I'm experiencing the really low lows. Lamar Jackson, they're going to go for it on 4th down. He rolls out to the right, and he just hits what would have been Duvernay in the corner, but Jordan Poyer somehow sees it and gets there in the nick of time and picks it off, and we know what happens in the rest of the game. 12 plays, 77 yards. We bleed out the clock. Tyler Bass, game winner. End of story. Now, there's some things that came out of this game that I still have to question about this team. And one of those things that I don't have to question is the team's willingness to overcome certain hurdles. And they overcome the weather, which was a big narrative about last week. They overcome injuries because, again, 2 receivers left the game, and then we had to get to Khalil Shakir. And then they overcame the Bills can't win close games narrative. That's 3 things that we doubted about this team that they basically said, nah, don't worry about that. We're going to go and snag this W out of Baltimore. I'm very happy about that. The things that concern me the most about this team at this point is the depth at wide receiver. The legitimate question of what are we going to do if Singletary potentially gets hurt? And I don't want that to happen, but what are we going to do if it's just super predictable that, hey, the Bills can only run with Singletary? So if he's in there, be aware about that. Don't worry about Zach Moss. Don't worry about James Cook because we don't know what's going on with them. And then my last big area of concern is that this team has, I don't know what it is, but when it's third and 17 or third and 22 last week with the long pass to Jalen Waddle, and then this week the third and I don't even know how long it was, but Lamar Jackson just runs 17 or 20 yards up the field that made that 14-play, 93-yard drive continue. Was that I somehow understand that the Bills want all the plays, don't give up the deep play, keep stuff underneath you, but I wonder sometimes if they're playing too conservative, right? And every week you're not going to play Lamar Jackson. You're not going to have to worry about super speedy guys in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So maybe this is just two really rare back-to-back things that the Bills won't have to face down the road. But it does bring up the question, at least to me, hey, why is this a reoccurring theme that when the Bills defense needs to get off the field, when the Bills need a chance to turn the tides of the game, and it's third and forever, that somehow these teams convert? We saw it last week. That proved to be one of the biggest plays on the reason why the Dolphins were able to outlast the Bills. This week, it proved not to be costly because Jordan Poyer got that interception. Right? It's a legitimate question for me, but I'm very happy that this team was able to make those halftime adjustments and we're doing good, at least at this point. Now, all things considered, the Bills won the game. So, not to bring down the mood, but like I said, this game was a high and low levels of emotion. And with that being said, it was a tale of two halves. Let's get to the Player of the Game award. I talked to the fellas, Justin and Jacob, and it was pretty much a toss-up between Milano, which he had a career high of 13 tackles. I wanted Edmonds, and then Justin wanted, and then we basically kind of came to the conclusion, it's got to be Poyer. So Jordan Poyer, at least for us, was our player of the game, and 2 interceptions. 2 really, really key interceptions. The first one, obviously we had a punt after it, but it was big because the Ravens were looking good at that point. But the second one basically all but sealed the Ravens' fate. And I understand that Jordan Poyer looked pretty emotional on the sidelines after that. And again, I'm recording this on Sunday, and it's 5:20. He's been taken in to get x-rays. Just when this team can't get a break, right? Their all-pro safety finally comes back, and he has a huge impact. What happens? He's got to go get x-rays after this game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I really hope it's nothing serious. I hope he's healthy. But, walking into the locker room, he screams the big dubs like he always does. So I whatever's laboring him doesn't sound like it's too bad. But, we'll see what happens because I've been optimistic in the past and some random stuff has happened. So let me not say anything and potentially jinx everything. We have a new award that we're going to come out with moving forward, and that's the Dorsey Tablet Award for the player that makes you just want to take a tablet and just destroy it. And man, this was basically encapsulating the Buffalo Bills in the first. Oh, sorry, Siri, didn't mean to activate you on that, but yeah, sorry. Dorsey Tablet Award for the player that makes you the most frustrated, or just in general. And I don't really know how you can't include any of the Buffalo Bills in the first half, really, except for, obviously, Poyer and all that stuff. But, man, there were just so many drops. So many drops from this Buffalo Bills team. Gabe Davis, man, he just didn't look like 100%. And I'm not so sure that's all on him. Oh, my God, that play. I was just thinking about that deep throw to Mark Andrews. Malone looks like he's going to pick it off. He goes up for it, and then it was just like the weirdest kind of catch bobble thing, and I'm pretty sure Rashad Bateman caught it on 3rd and forever and was able to keep the drive going, and I think they ended up scoring a touchdown off of that. So that's definitely a Dorsey smashing award for me. We talked about how Moss and Cook, more so Moss than anything, probably makes you want to smash a tablet. But above all, at least for me, is the inconsistency from this refereeing that I've seen so far. That no call on Damar Hamlin was absurd. The no calls on the defenseless hit against McKenzie. The no calls just in general throughout this game. And I don't even care if you're going to be like ticky-tacky, and I've said this so many times over and over and over. If you're going to call a game and be ticky-tacky, or like, you know, you want to be hands-off, do it for both sides. Just be even about it. I don't like when games are dictated by laundry. And at one point, I really thought, hey, the Bills are getting kind of screwed out of here. And, you know, it kind of worked out because we got a pretty favorable call on roughing the passer with Josh Allen, where he looked like he kind of, you know, he flopped a little bit. But, hey, it worked out this time. But just, you know, going down the road, I just need to see more consistency on both sides from the refereeing group, because this season is too big for the Buffalo Bills to be dictated by the Zebras. So let us know who your player of the game should be, and who your Dorsey tablet player or players or play, I guess, would be your tablet player of the game. We're very interested. At this point, I don't really have much else to say, Bills Mafia. I'm just happy that the Bills are now 3-1, 2-1 on away games. And let's see here who the Bills have next. The Buffalo Bills will play the Steelers next week, 1 o'clock, CBS. And, hey, Kenny Pickett started. Well, he didn't start, but he got replaced. Or he replaced one Mitch Trubisky. So, kind of wish that didn't have to happen until later in the week, because I wanted Mitch Trubisky to play against his old team here, because he was looking kind of suspect and kind of predictable, flashes of old Trubisky. So, I would have enjoyed that, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that. However, the Bills have been proven, specifically Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, have proven to be very good against rookie quarterbacks. So let's hope that the history repeats itself here and we get a big W. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. Next week, we should have Justin back. Again, this episode is presented to you by 26 Shirts. You can find me on most social media and podcasting platforms by searching up Two Changs. You can find this podcast, the Wandering Buffalo Podcast, on all platforms and even on YouTube by searching up the Wandering Buffalo Podcast. We appreciate if you could like, comment, review, subscribe to the podcast. Anything helps. And of course, and as always, go Bills.